everybody, today we will be going through how to create and launch your first EC2 instance. So the first thing we want to do is we want to log into the AWS Management Console. So if you haven't done that already, please do that now. And if this is your first time logging in, you will have to sign up and provide a credit card. However, you will have access to the free tier usage for a year. So even though you provide a credit card, as long as you stay within the free tier limits, you should not have any charges. So this is your first time logging in through the root user. I would suggest for best practice and generally speaking, the root user has too much privilege and power. So please make sure to go into your IAM account, so IAM, Identity Access Management in here, and then create a separate account to be able to do these other operations in. So once you've done that, let's now go to the EC2 console. And over here, we're going to launch an instance. So launch instance. And we want to use Amazon Linux 2 AMI because it's accessible in the free tier. So let's select this. We want to make sure we're using the T2 micro as it's the free tier eligible one. So go to next configuration details. And over here, you're going to see a lot of information, but not all of this is really necessary for us. So number of instances is what it sounds like. It's the number of instances we require. So imagine each instance to be virtual machine. At this moment, we only want one. And you can have the option to have an auto-scaling group, but that's a bit more advanced. So we're going to choose a network. VPC, it's already provided here. Subnet, no preference. Everything else here can pretty much stay as is. Now, as just a separate note, if, for example, during boot up of your EC2 instance, you wanted some things to happen, for example, you wanted to boot some static files, you can do that right here. You can set up some boot commands here, and that will be done here. But that's also a little bit more advanced. So let's move on to the storage now. And now we're just going to select the default storage here, 8 gigabytes. And tags is an easy way for us to be able to categorize different resources we're using. And one of the tags that can be quite useful is the name tag. And this will provide the name for our EC2 instance, so it's easier to know which one we've created. So let's still call it demo EC2. So now that we're in security groups, we want to create a new security group. So by default, only the SSH port will be open, and it is open from any IP address. So this can be a bit of a security concern, and we will probably get a warning for this like we are seeing below. This means that what Amazon is trying to tell us is that anybody will be able to access our SSH instance. Now it doesn't mean they'll be able to get in, but that does mean they will be able to try to connect at least. However, what if we want our EC2 instance to be public facing, meaning not just we want to be able to SSH into it, we want to be able to access it over the internet. So let's add a separate rule. We'll look for the HTTP, and this is going to allow access over port 80. So review and launch. Everything looks good. So over here, we're just going to create a new key pair. Key pair name, demo key pair. And what this key pair basically allows us to do is once we have it, it's going to give us a PEM file, which we can then use as our password to be able to SSH into our instance. So that's a bit more of an advanced topic, and we might be able to cover that later on in a separate video. So let's download our key pair. And make sure you guys don't lose this file right here. This is a one-time only provided file. If you lose this file for whatever reason, you will no longer be able to access this key pair anymore. You will have to delete it and use a new one. So now let's launch our instance. So it's been initiated. Let's take a look here. And currently it's pending. Let's open it up. So after a couple of minutes, our instance should be up and running now. As we can see here, it's running. And then we can access it because we have the HTTP port 80 open over the public IPv4 address. So if we copy this and we paste this, we are now able to actually try to access our EC2 instance. Now in this case here, refuse to connect is a good sign. That means it was able to establish connection and it refused. If it continuously was spinning and loading, that would mean the EC2 instance was not yet running yet and it wasn't able to locate any request and is still waiting on a request. And it would soon at some point time out. The fact it's refusing to connect here just means our EC2 instance does not want to connect with us, and that's fine because at the moment it's just a bare virtual machine. There's nothing set up on it. Now, if we had set up an Nginx server that we want to serve some static HTML pages, those would be loaded here at this public IPv4 address. And we can cover that maybe in a separate video. However, even though we haven't SSH in through our terminal, or we haven't have any landing page or HTML page through a server set up on our website so we can't access it, we can access it through a separate way. So we can connect through the EC2 instance connect. And now inside of here, we are actually inside of our virtual machine setup. So we can run some ls commands. Nothing should be in here because it's a brand new instance. So touch test.txt, ls, nano, test.txt, don't kill me Vim users, right? We can come inside of here, hello world, control, yes, save it, right? We have our text.txt, and as you guys can see here, this is a functional virtual machine, and we have now connected through it through the EC2 instance. And this is actually fairly handy as well too. I do like the Amazon console. However, I do prefer connecting through my own terminal. It's just a bit more convenient and easier, and we can show how to do that in a separate video. So just to recap over what we did today, we selected and launched our first EC2 instance. We selected what basic image we wanted to run as the OS. In this case here, it was an Amazon Linux image. We selected what kind of computing power we would need, the T2 Micro, which is also accessible in the free tier. We selected how many instances, the storage, and the security group. In this case, the security group would be, can we connect through it over SSH, and can we access it through port 80 HTTP port. And then finally, we were able to connect to our instance using the EC2 Instance Connect built in to AWS. So if you guys found this helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, and see you guys next time.